For my project, I decided to make Clover's invoicing feature more functional by utilizing data Clover already has. Clover is a point of sale system that I use at work daily. I was really excited when we upgraded to it a couple of years ago because it allowed us to take online payments. However, when I went to make an invoice for the first time, I was extremely disappointed. I thought that it would work somewhat like our physical register does and allow me to use our inventory to create an itemized invoice. Unfortunately, you could only enter in the invoice total and a note. It's basically a glorified version of Venmo. I did a quick Google search to make sure that I wasn't missing something. I learned that I wasn't and that many others had complained as well. Even though I use Clover daily, I decided to make a user journey map for a hypothetical user going to create her very first invoice. This way I could clearly identify each of the pain points along the journey. The first pain point ended up coming prior to the actual invoicing. It was figuring out where to go to make that invoice. The Clover dashboard has a big green button at the very top of the navigation called Virtual Terminal. If you decided to click on it, you would be able to access four options, including Create an Invoice. The Virtual Terminal button seemed a bit ominous to me, so I thought maybe I should restructure it. Maybe make it a drop-down menu or list all of the actions below it. If I worked at Clover, this is where I would do some user testing or look at the data on how users typically navigate through the site. Instead, all I had to rely on was my journey map. My hypothetical user didn't try to click on the Virtual Terminal button. She went straight to the Invoices option in the navigation. I realized that the three other actions housed within the virtual terminal could be relocated under a pre-existing menu item or just stand alone in the menu themselves. I decided that having the virtual terminal button was causing more confusion than it was worth, so I got rid of it. There was already a button on the invoices page that linked to the virtual terminal for creating invoices, but it could be easily missed. I decided to bring it up in the visual hierarchy by making it green. Pain point number 2 was the main problem I knew I had to fix from the very beginning. Since you can't access your inventory in the invoice, you have to manually adjust your inventory in Clover after the fact. Besides that, most customers need an itemized invoice. It would be extremely difficult to try to manually type it out in the notes section with no formatting. Additionally, once you completed creating the invoice, it would automatically email it to the customer. There's no option to save it without sending it. My solution was a streamlined, itemized invoicing experience. I reviewed the flow and information used by a few other invoicing softwares like Square, Zoho, and Invoice ASAP. From there, I made a list of what the must-haves were and built out a prototype in Figma. After implementing all of my changes, I followed my hypothetical user through her journey yet again. This time, there were a lot more positive experiences than negative ones. Now I'll show you my prototype and point out some of the key elements I included. We start out at the dashboard and then we'll go over to invoices in the navigation. We'll go over and click create a new invoice. And then you can see we can drop down and add previous customers or add a new one, enter in all of their information, and they get added to the invoice. We can then collect items from our inventory. We can either save as a draft, preview, we can save and send, and it'll pop up where we can change our email, add a couple other ones, and include a message.